Guidance for the Soul Live. Soul embodiment. How many people want to know what it feels like to honestly think, I have no idea what the topic is going to be, other than pertaining to the bits and pieces of information that I could bring through about soul embodiment, correct? When I did the last video about soul embodiment, I often try to give us a little bit of time to focus on the knee-jerk reactions that I know many may or may not have about who I am or how I do what I do. And a lot of the topics can be very controversial in the mindsets. And what I want to talk about is those ideas that I have about other issues are not necessarily what you would bring through in your vision of soul embodiment, okay? We're not here to do the same work. So when I brought through the vision of someone who is in the path of soul embodiment, I would also let you know how long it may or may not take. It can be a process of generational visions, right? Now, most we're going to go, what does that mean? No, this is the nature of what people are starting to fear, that they have to make amends with people from their past who are still there creating with them. Do you ever think about people from your past who might have been hurt by you? How do we heal those wounds if we're not willing to what? Do the work? What do? Do you go in search of them? This sounds like some kind of instructional manual about soul embodiment. But it isn't that. Others will claim they've got the ticket for it. You're basically trying to bring forth your own vision of raising yourself up to a point of being able to reach those higher visions of love for yourself and for others. And that's where a lot of people will start to go, oh, I'm not going to be able to do that vision because I hate some people. Okay? And so it's okay. You don't have to worry about that. It's not about saying, yeah, a lot of people do hate people. There's a lot of anger in those higher vibrational beings in some cases, depending on where you are. So if you're in that vision of I'm in the realm of love and we just vibrate in our beauty, and you're not going to see a lot of smiling, okay, because I had surgery on my gums. Now, how many people want to know what that's like to feel your guide massaging your gums when you're in the dental office as they're doing the procedure? No, I did not feel it during the procedure because I was so numbed up. But before they placed the anesthetic on there, I was giving her a little rub down, okay? And this is the nature of her soul coming through for her and envisioning beauty for all of us. And also in that vision of soul embodiment, usually what will happen is you will start to connect the other dots, right? Those souls come to you and say, I need more information about my own host. So others are going to have this fear of channeling or of possession. And this is why we're going to start opening up the field to those visions of those projections and what it actually means that you have to face them. You have to face those fears, and you have to realize those were someone else's projections onto this world. There's a new way of being, and I do not talk like a space creature all the time. Okay, other people will often start out feeling like there is some kind of outer, like outer space person, in the vision. You can check out certain videos of my early stuff and you will hear the visions. And I was hearing that. What that is to let you know it's not your own thoughts, right? It's your souls coming together, and there's an integration of it. And thank goodness I met up with a woman who told me her story, and I literally had that vision before I even, met with her. And so there was a big relief, huge, that I was doing something right. Okay. If you start to hear foreign type, sounding visions in your mind, that might be part of it. At some point, there's a Semp. Is it December? Okay, so this is December 18th. We're going to talk about the nature of leaving our guides behind. Those visions were often carried through by other souls who needed me to open up to the nature of channeling. Okay, so your visions of soul embodiment aren't the same as mine. You don't have to hear visions of hatred from other souls. I had to hear that. That was planted in my mind by my soul because of something that I had read. I did a lot of reading on those visions of channeling, mediumship, and whatnot early on in the process, trying to figure out what the heck was going on. Okay, and I didn't even hit on channeling until much later in the process, and that became part of it. I knew I was able to do that vision anyways, but then I knew there was more going on than just that. Now, the main thing that you must insist on realizing is that as people were claiming that I was somehow, being attacked or a host for some spiritual being, I was getting loving guidance and visions. And when we say visions, I'm not literally seeing them at this point, but it's more like the auditory visions, brought forth for me. Those visions were very helpful and loving. And that's the thing that you want to raise your soul to. You want to go, I want to be in a high vibration. I don't want to be afraid. And that's the biggest obstacle, is going, wait a minute. I have someone who knows me, right? I have someone who knows me. And I want to say thank you for joining our soul session. We're talking about the experiences of soul embodiment. And it can be a little bit difficult for me as a channel to relate the differences between soul embodiment and guidance. Okay? All souls do come through for the vision of love. When you hear your name called, you will get your message. Okay, so in essence, people are going to start thinking they're always going to hear their name. I'm not going to do that necessarily. It depends on what kind of session and what the souls have deemed to be necessary. So I want to honor your heart, and if your wisdom says I don't want to be called out in public, your soul may decide it's needed for a certain reason, but it won't be obligatory for you to, pay me for this session. I'm not charging for these sessions at this point, okay? But I can be more specific for a certain person if they come into these sessions. Now, I was going to say hallelujah, right? No, Halle Berry is another vision of a lady who would have been deemed not as strong in her field of vision. Because in essence, this was the nature of celebrity stardom. That was one vision. It's like the Bob Eubanks. Someone's going to be a newlywed. We want to say, are you feeling that vision of love as a newlywed? Right? Is it into your mind, I'm going to be walking down that path, right? Hollywood. Okay. So Hollywood is a place for many souls who feel like that's the place for them. And in essence, my vision is so strong for that vision of stardom that they start to, it's like collect around me. I often hear visions of those visions of stardom in my mind. And we want to honor your vision for your soul. And in essence, are you thinking that you're going to go down the path of stardom? Or are you thinking, no, I'm one of those other souls that is just here for the ride. I want to check out what's going on in this vision of love. So soul embodiment often takes us for a ride. It can be a journey that is so fabulous, and you're like, oh, I'm just thrilled to be a part of the show, right? That's most people when they start to get on to these kinds of visions of, I get to have my fortune read. Okay, so it can kind of feel that way a little bit. That's your soul letting you know you're on this path. Now, if there was a fantasy world, that can be someone else's fantasy world, right? You do not get told lies from your soul. Now, they will test you on certain aspects of your heart. And when I say that, you have to be very strong, or you have to plant the seed like I did that said, I won't be able to trust my soul if I'm, given these little tests. It is about what path you are going to take. So for me, if I was going to go down the path of movie production, which is where I'm at, in essence, not movie production, I'm more in the vision of someone's in movie production, but I'm more in the vision of, a show. But for your heart, you're thinking, no, I would want to be in a movie too. So you have desires of that film industry of some sort. Your soul would say, create the space for love. So first of all, the love of my life would love to do a session, but we're not exactly in the position to be able to do that vision with you based on the price and the ticket count. So they're not sure how to go about, setting up a session. Anyone who ever comes to me will get their session read, no matter what. I will not deny you your vision no matter what you can or cannot pay. I just will not do that at this point. Okay, I'm not here to be exclusive to only the, rich. Okay, that's just not going to happen. But for you and your vision of stardom, we would say honor the visions of those loves who know the definition of truth and justice. Okay, so that's my heart. I'm always saying I just want to be given the truth and the justice of souls. So you have to navigate your life in that way that you want to be treated. So for me, if you want to be treated with respect, you need to kind of honor that vision for others as well. Now, what can happen is if you're thinking, well, there's a lot of people that I don't necessarily get along with, then you have to ask yourself, why am I around them? And if my situation is detrimental to me, we would say we want to let you know about that. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Just because you're not in the same mode of operation as somebody else. You might say, no, I'm pretty good with who I am, and I just let people know where they stand with me. So you would say, good, I'm very forthcoming in my, guidance. Some people are very mysterious in their guidance, and they'll do a little bit of, shuffling around a little bit. You tend to shuffle around. So what we want to do is honor the vision of love. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to make a big comeback in someone's eyes, right? That's another vision for the football league. Do I put it as a future vision, or do I let that one ride? Someone is envious of that vision of sports. I am not going to be your, bookies. I'm not going to be, I'm not telling people so they can contact their bookie. Okay. But your soul may want to come through for you and say, for you, I would give you that vision so you could, maybe benefit from that vision. If that is in your mindset, you want to be careful about what kind of, beauty you bring through, right? So it's not about saying you got to go bet a whole bunch of money or anything like that. You could literally just say, well, I want to invest in my sports team. Or maybe that is not your sports team, but you want to be a part of a pool, okay, or something. We're giving someone a little tip here. But what you have to understand is you need to ask those questions. Is this specific, right? What's going on right now? Football, right? Not as much. We've got the pandemic. So we're not going to talk about anything controversial. I just want to give you your heart. What I'm trying to say is, in essence, a lot of times I really do like connecting with people on a more one-on-one basis in those sessions. I can do small groups, but I do like to have a visual so I can connect visually as well. But your souls don't need the visual connection to connect with other souls, right? See, we connect on a soul level no matter what, but in the big scheme of things. But even so, if someone is in my vision, their soul and my soul are already connecting. And in essence, I'm connecting with your hearts. Okay, because you have hearts and you're saying, well, what is it that I want to know? So usually for a soul session, you're going to want to know, where am I headed? Or is there anything I need to know? Now, that's a good question, because in essence, that's usually one of the things people forget to ask. There's one thing I need to know. Who the hell is Brenda Gervais? And why does she think she knows who I am? Okay, that's some people who start to hear their names in the public sphere, and they start to go, why is it that my information is being brought through without my knowing it or understanding of how that happens? Okay, this would be like a backstory about who I am and how I'm connected. Now, for you, as you are, you would be, labeled as a very honest, loving, caring person. And you would say, I want to do the best job that I can for my clients. Okay? And that's the nature of it. Okay? So at some point, the more individualized session stuff is going to be really tailored for an individual if we have an honest to goodness soul session versus me trying to, piece people's visions together in a group, right? No, the group sessions are fine. What happens is that This is for other souls of future as well. So it's not going to necessarily make sense only to those on the screen, right? People will watch these sessions because they'll have access to them. Now, I still hear about a former Secretary of State, and people are going to start getting tired. And I want to talk to people about the importance of making sure you stop when you hear a message and you say, we need to regroup. If I have a message for a condominium person, there's a person who's in a condominium versus a house, right? So I want to honor those visions of love who want to be in a condominium versus a house, versus the two-story structure of my light. I used to be in a condominium. Now I'm in a house, right? I am being told visions of love for a soul that wants to be known as his soul's vision, right? So I'm not going to name the celebrity name in this vision necessarily of who's going to come through at some point. We know that we often do get certain souls that will come through on the soul embodiment sessions to kind of peek in a little bit and see if the vision is going to be a good, turnout for Sunday's session. And I do want to remind people that I will be doing a session on Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific time for Channel of the Soul. Those visions are very strong. Some people are getting a little bored with the information. They would expect to have the celebrity name just pop out of their mouth it's like in a minute. It's not always going to be a celebrity. It could be a person who actually has information for my heart as well as yours. So if I say that your vision is, I wish I had more guidance rather than information. So a lot of people are wanting to know more about their vision of how they do the guidance, right? How do I do guidance? Do I sit back and watch the shows, or do I actively participate in a session? When we do a session, you are part of it. We can either have you sit back and listen, but in essence, I will usually do a back and forth. And that's why a soul session is very interactive. It's not just me telling you things necessarily. It's more like a dialogue. It will be more me than you, so you get your money's worth, right? I don't want you talking through the whole thing, because your guide would be very excited going, yeah, I want to hear the messages, not me just chit-chatting. You want to hear those visions of love. And that's the nature of what it does, really, is it opens up the dialogue. And I realize in this vision of soul embodiment, when I'm not able to chat or see a chat window, because I don't have a chat window open, so I don't have the benefit of being able to necessarily see your visions, right? At some point, I need to change the format so that I'm able to actually bring on board other people. And that might mean, I might be doing Zoom sessions or something like that. And I know I can do it actually in other formats, but it's not the easiest. The technological revolution, is a struggle for some of us. Now, I want to say, Granny's online. Okay, Granny's online. Heaven help us if I have to sit there and tell people again, it's not just about connecting with your family. It is only one aspect of your light. The rest of the time, your vision should be focused on your life as you are, carefree. Family trees are best. It's like the best thing ever, right? You literally want to be able to work on your relationships. So you could get, investment income advice with your soul. You could get relationship information with your soul. You could get all of those beautiful things that I've talked about in other videos. Okay? So at this point, if we're going to start down that process of, am I going on that trip? I want to go on that trip to Tahiti. I would say sail away. It's going to be a great trip. However, it's not a doomsday scenario for you. Tahiti can be a beautiful place. The passengers will be screened with their ideas. We will all need to have our vaccines. It's going to be one of those issues that a lot of people are going to have with, I don't want to take a vaccine, or I don't want to have to prove that I've been vaccinated. And we want to honor that vision of, I'm not resistant to it. I just want to go in the summertime. And that's a beautiful place to go. We're not exactly sure if your vision is one in which you could be pushed ahead of the line so that you could get your vaccine before you go on a cruise. They're not going to divvy up the vaccines for those who just want to go on vacation. So with that vision, what we would say is hallelujah, right? No, it's an events coordinator. Okay, so you're an events coordinator in many ways. We want you to think about how little damage the coronavirus, right? It's not corona. It is a coronavirus, but people are saying they're going to start laughing, right? We want to be very careful about what we say to people about their health when it comes to this. I'm not going to give you your health information for the most part at this point in time because of the nature of which soul is doing the visiting. I can have a trip in mind and let you know whether you could go on the trip without coming back sick. But in essence, does that do you any good? If you're already in the mindset of I'm going no matter what, it doesn't matter what I tell you, right? Because if I were to tell you something about the person involved, I gave specific information to a friend about the person that they were to avoid on a trip to Mexico had she decided to go. I gave a description of the couple, a mother and a daughter, and the age of the daughter, and where they would be meeting up with these people. That's how strong my talent is. Okay. Now, I'm not going to be someone's doorkeeper. So the vision is not to try to lure you into paying for a soul session. But honestly, people, think about me. I am going to be a single mom. I do need to start making money, but I will work with all souls, and I will try to do my best to make sure you're all taken care of. I will try to heal your vision of destroying, right? You're destroying my vision. I want something different. I don't need to know about Tahiti. It might not be for you. It's a soul session for another friend. But in essence, that was that vision. Now, for you, we would say, if you have decided for sure to go, please enjoy your trip. You know, that's the nature of love. We do want you to have a beautiful time on your trip. That might be a cruise, correct? Now, Tahiti is a very interesting place. It has its advantages over Hawaii. It is also not even remotely close. Okay, but they all have their beautiful visions of the tropical isles, right? And that's where Brenda's thinking, wouldn't that be nice? I envy you for going. I'm not in that position yet. And I want to say I love you for that vision of Tahiti. It's an option on our bucket list. And that's why we were giving that to those souls as an option for those tropical places that are amazing. You can be outdoors and be somewhat remote, and stay away from people. It's easier to be, in a tropical isle sometimes versus, in the city, right? We can stay in our cabana. Those are the newlyweds. Maybe not. They can go out on the beach, right? But, or stay in their room. That's more like it. But I cannot laugh too much, and I'm sorry. I would be laughing. So I want to honor your visions of love for the soul embodiment. It will be trial and error for certain people when they come on and then they get spooked because they feel like their information is too revealing. No, I am not getting made in heaven. Some people are like, no, I'm still made in heaven. I was made in heaven. Okay, those are our souls. We do have those visions of the loving, caring heart energies that say, I just want to make sure I make it to heaven. Your vision is always in that vision of heaven. So you will always be created in that vision of it. You are not a space being. Okay, now, you will always create that vision of my love. My love for my soulmate says he's going to go into outer space, right? Or maybe not. Maybe not. Friends and family are often in this vision of grief when they hear or see the visions of loved ones in times gone past. Sometimes it can bring up, memories that are not pleasant. And other times we can look back and honor those visions and say those were beautiful memories. Let's not destroy our hearts. Let's think about the good times that we had with our family trees. Let's honor those visions of those that maybe we didn't get along with, or maybe we just didn't see them that much. Okay? Now for me, I wanted to honor your hearts with a message of love from Gandhi. Okay, this is one of my guides. Okay, and it is not him as he was. It is the nature of soul connecting to soul. So that vision is on a different plane of understanding, right? That would be more like a medium. In essence, if they were just, bringing through that vision of here I was and whatnot, it can be seen as that. But in essence, the soul of Gandhi is a whole nother story. Now that would be more about channeling, right? I do it all. And it is like since I'm embodied by my own soul, I don't bring it through in that way that like a medium would. Okay, or a guide. Well, guides would say that's what mediums are doing. They just haven't really declared themselves, embodied. They don't have the sensations necessarily of their own soul being embodied because of the fear of bringing in the energy. And there's a lot of them that know that they are definitely embodied. And, it was just the terminology. So we're not discrediting any mediumship whatsoever. It depends. It's an individual process for so many people. It is, in fact, a buzzword to some people. They're saying, no, my vision knows exactly who I am and where I was. And I know I saw what I saw, and it was definitely not mine. And that's the nature of projection. Most people will assume that anything they see is something that everyone else would be able to see. And we honor that vision of those that say, yeah, there's a lot of people who see this vision. And people will, tape stuff. There are people who, it's like it's the protection of my own heart. I'm not going to go down the vision of ghost. Just because of the fact that I've got children and I even protect them from that vision, and I let them know it's like, no, there's no ghost in my house. I don't see the visions as ghost. The soul level understanding is that I am a multidimensional being and I vibrate in a different way. I don't have to project visions of ghost onto myself or others. Because it would be so sad for so many people to realize that their visions are somehow stuck on this plane. We vibrate out of that vision of ghost. For the most part, in the future. Because usually those visions are not interactive for the most part, right? So that's why we go to the nature of soul embodiment. And then what you're doing is you're dealing with the visions of those souls who are absolutely like beings of love and light, right? I'm not going to go to those hellish realms for people. Okay? I just won't do it. I've heard many visions being placed on my heart about, well, that's part of being, lower vibration. It's not saying it's bad. It's just different. So don't be discouraged because you feel like, oh, then I'm not. Don't be discouraged. It's an opening up of all souls. Most souls. I saw things when I was younger. It was more like shadows. Okay, so I'm not discounting the vision. But what I am saying is that you want to really idealize your own soul. So your soul is beautiful. And that's what you always have to plant in your mind. I am beautiful. And then you embody that vision. And then you say, I want to go to Tahiti. Can I go to Tahiti? It's like the Dahisa? Dahisa? It's not that. It's a Dahisa. Is that someone's school? Or God help her if she screams out loud. I don't know what that vision is. But I'm going to open up the discussion to another kind of vision. You do want to embody your own soul's view of love. Your soul is more than your family. You have to get out of the idea that your family's going to somehow be with you. Okay, they're in the hearts. I opened up from the internal being of who I am. Most people are afraid to bring out the visions of love. So for me as a soul, I sometimes still hold back my grief from my family. Okay? And how many of us do that vision? You're going to do a lot of grief work with soul embodiment for the most part. If you have a lot of grief that you have not let go of, you want to let it go, because they will bring you to that point of, I just have to cry my heart out. Okay, it can happen. We would suggest a more fun-filled vision of soul embodiment. And again, I want to just remind everyone, I've had dental surgery, so I can't really smile at this point. I've got stitches in my mouth. So the fun-filled session of soul embodiment would be, what do we tackle? Right? What do we tackle in that vision of I'm of love? Okay, I start to see people in a new way. You start to look like at people's visions of love, and you say, wow, they're pretty darn awesome. Right? And even those characters we're like characters in a play for some people. That's, people will say, oh, we're, illusions and other, like, I'm not going to go down that path of spiritual, embodiment. I literally just feel like going, the day-to-day world is plenty for me. I don't need to read books on soul embodiment. I don't need to, guide myself to any other vision. I read one book about it, and it was someone else's vision of their experience. And, at this point, what I'm looking forward to, it's not about me, it's about you. You could bring that vision of soul embodiment in, but your soul is saying you don't need to go down that path if it doesn't feel right for you yet. If you're just in the, oh, I want to have fun and I want to know if this is the best thing for me to do, or should I go off into a different vision where I'm looking at my soul as a ghost, right? Am I feeling like I'm a ghost? Do I feel like I'm a ghost? Okay. So this is kind of like, it doesn't feel like being a ghost. I'm never a ghost. So some people will project that vision that they feel like they're going to be, like a ghost. You don't have to see those visions if you don't want. The Arnold Palmer vision is somebody that I know. So I don't want anyone to think that if I say Arnold Palmer, it's probably not for them. So no, that was a message for me. Now the giftedness of my own heart can come through. And I will say thank you for joining me at this point. I'm going to wrap it up because I'm feeling a little bit of like the inflammation in my mouth. And it's a little bit distracting for me. So I want to honor your hearts, and your soul says you will be just fine. Everywhere you go, I will follow you into those realms of love. You will never be alone. You will always be held in the highest regards. You will always caretake those loved ones around you. Let go of the visions of health. Invest in, it's like it's figure 8. That's for me. Okay, so sometimes those visions do come through for me, and you'll start to understand why people are going to laugh. Oh, she doesn't always get her messages in private. So I can show you that vision of what I sometimes go into, that vision of talking out loud. And this is why I will be very clear in the future about how not to go too far. You don't want to lose who you are in this realm. Okay. So we will take that vision forward, because people will say, do you always talk like that? No. There is a difference. You feel the energy strong when I'm in the mode of guidance. It's a different feeling for me. Okay. But you definitely know that your soul is there with you. They'll let you know. But if you're dealing with other people, you don't notice necessarily. But because I'm in guidance mode, it's the kind of guidance that I do where I can do it on the spot with somebody potentially. If it's deemed that they need to have a vision brought through, that means that, I might hear things, okay? The messages, So, a very old woman wants to come through and say, condolences for the family of Sheila. Because in her heart, she's losing faith in the tree as supportive of her heart. Her vision was, my soul was so special and loved by so many and was never acknowledged for the beauty and for the cherished memories that she brought to many. We often overlook the silent ones in our hearts. I held my pain in, or I was alone in my pain. You were never alone. You were always with your soul. And your hearts of family trees were also aware of various ideas that were brought forth. When we get thrown a loop by a revealing of a very private and hurtful, we want to honor all of those souls who suffer in silence. And in essence, it is part of my it's like my sharing of my heart. People are often very demonstrative in their love, and they were caretaking of those around us. That's Sheila's vision. I took care of those around me. And in essence, I had to be my own heart. I lost out on a lot of love from the people around me. In essence, it felt like they weren't loved, but she was being honored for the strength and the love that she gives to those people around her, without that vision being brought back to them in the way in which she wanted or needed. I'm Gandhi's vision, right? That's another soul. In essence, that soul of the soul would say, the heavenly realms will reside within her heart. She will be able to handle all visions of love. It's like for her heart, she's being honored by many for doing the work that others would not have done, which was to support and care for the souls of the souls as we honor those visions of those who make the transition in a safe and secure environment. I was allowed the beauty of light and the beauty of seeing my children's visions come true. We will rise to that level of love that others would only dream of. And in essence, that's the nature of his light. I was not there. I knew I was hearing the guidance from my soul, but I did not know how to bring it forth in the way that would not condemn me, for my visions were strong. I was condemned by my own heart. I never knew that my soul was on the line. I assumed I would be met in heaven. Their vision is of love for all. So that soul that said, I wanted to honor your mother's vision of love, she's put much of her heart behind her. She doesn't want to be brought back into that vision of victim mindset. But we all do in essence. We carry the burdens of our families often. We carry their burdens to our grave many times. It's like the silence of her heart. She doesn't do the work that others would want of her, which is to release the burdens to her own heart. You let them go and you say, I honor my family tree. I wish it would have been different. And that's okay to have those visions of, I wish it would have been different. However, when we look onto the view of who are my children, we can now see you did good. You have honestly affected the changes in your children's life in such a huge and impactful way that they will eternally be grateful for your heart, your strength, your sincerity, and your honest to goodness love for your children. Your spouse is saying they would not be there without her. That's the nature of where we go with most souls. We have to honor those souls that do suffer the souls of other souls and say, I took on the burdens of others without even knowing why I did so. That's the caretaker aspect of who we are. I am the strength of your heart. So, in essence, others are going to say, well, I made you stronger for it. That's a baloney game that some people will place on someone. You know, that idea that, oh, I'm going to be here and I'm going to make you suffer so that you become strong, right? I have to deal with that in essence, and I'm not planting that seed for anyone else. The gentle souls of the world that get trashed on, trampled on, because they're not fitting in with society, that's called being a bully. And that's the nature of our next episode of Channel for the Soul. We will be talking about the vision of those who had to deal with those aspects of being bullied or teased. This was Justin Timberlake. How many celebrities don't have that vision of, I was called this, that, whatnot? What is it in our light that says that I have to look out on a screen, see someone doing something that is, their passion, and then it becomes somehow fodder for the press or for the public. We make fun of people for just doing their thing. Yet my own vision is what? I'm not going to stick my neck out and be who I want to be. Go find yourself a new profession. If you aren't happy, find yourself a new profession. Go do something beautiful with your life. Stop making fun of celebrity readings. In essence, I know that some of them are a little odd, and I know that they're not everyone's cup of tea, but they will break the hearts of many. If you actually listen to the visions of those souls, you will start to hear the guidance that are kind of hidden within the messages of the love that we have to bring forth for our souls. Most people don't realize that they are actually creating fodder, right? It is of no consequence to her soul what you say or don't say. But in essence, this is the nature. So, no, this is about the bullies. Okay? We have bullies in our families. And we would say, at this point, do we take steps to stop the bullying? Or do we take steps to open up the lines of communication? And if you can sit down with someone as an adult and say, you do realize that that would be taken as a negative comment by the majority of people. And people will then say, well, that's too bad. Then at that point, you might want to say, okay, I think we're going to have to agree not to visit with each other anymore. That's where I went. There are people in my family who I won't go visit anymore. Because in essence, if they don't stop bullying, I basically put down a line and I say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to subject myself to those bullies. I don't have to hear the visions of them. A lot of people will do that behind the back. When you get into the public sphere, be prepared to have people poke fun of you or at you. Now, this was not meant for my mother, but in essence, she was the butt of many jokes, and it was of no consequence to the other souls, but my own father would have to come through and apologize for the brutality in which she was treated. In an emotional way, not in the physicality way. And that it can be just as damaging in essence as a beating. Okay? And if you are in the vision of having to ever hear that vision brought to you by a soul, you will start to honor the vision of why you don't go to the channeling aspect with your family. You let that vision go and you say, I don't need to bring forth a vision of family. They hold back their energy because they don't want to be a part of that vision because it can cause more damage. Okay, so now I want to honor your visions. And I honestly know that this was not as coherent again. I'm telling you, there's a lot going on. And part of it is the distraction of my mouth. But anyways, let's go ahead and wind this up. I do want to do a session with somebody who is thinking about it and wondering if they could possibly ask for a reduction in the price by 20 to 30%. That is absolutely correct. You absolutely can. I may go ahead and put that on there for those souls if that's looking like a better thing, or if you have you guys can't have more than one person. So, if you want to split it up, that's fine. But, if it's two and you're like, it's going to be the same price. Okay. But I'm not going to sit there and stop people who are serious about having, a session. You can have a session that's not about soul embodiment, by the way. Okay. That can be just you hearing your souls. It's not about you, trying to do this vision. Okay, those can be very specific sessions. So let's take a break from the vision of love and let's go to the family tree, right? Sometimes my family tree members do join, and that's why certain, parts of those visions will get watched. And that was an honoring of my mother by my father. So I want to say thank you again. Honor your hearts, your minds, your souls, and have a beautiful evening. Or whatever part of the day it is that you're watching. And enjoy your lives. Go out and have fun in a safe and secure way at this point. We're still going to walk that line with the pandemic. But in essence, we do want to say congratulations to the souls that are in that vision of potential newlywed status. And we will say, have a great trip. And when you deem it to be happening, you might want to think about parents and your sister-in-law. Okay. So honor those visions, take care of your hearts, and have a great